Hey everybody, you're watching Cole the Corn Star. Also, big thank you to Policy Genius for sponsoring this video. Good morning, welcome to the farm. Today we are going to be focusing our efforts on the 100% restoration of my $7,000 mansion. Underneath this big old tarp is where the underground movie theater is going to be located. We poured this a week ago, so this morning we actually just turned the heat off. We've been heating that area so we can allow the concrete to cure. So we're gonna be pulling off forms today. It's gonna be a really busy day, but we've already got the main theater area completely stripped, so we're gonna be working on the back wall. Our goal is to get all of these interior forms off over here, as well as the interior forms that are inside of the bump out. And then once we get done with that, we are going to discuss the future of the construction plans. For help today, I got my neighbor Justin helping me, and we're getting a really nice start over in this corner, but we're going to start running into a problem here very shortly, and that comes with all of the bloat that we're having from all the stuff that we're taking down and all of the forms that we're stacking up. Once we start making our way down this wall, we're gonna have to move all those, and then we're gonna have to do the same thing over here. And we're trying to eliminate double or triple handling material as much as we can, because it takes a lot of time to be able to move these around. And it also takes a lot of energy. These things are heavy. So we're gonna have to shortly figure out a way where we can pull our tarp back a little bit. And then we're gonna try to somehow come in with the telehandler and be able to lower something down. And we're not sure how many forms we can put on a pallet and be able to lift out without tipping the telehandler over. So we're going to be getting to that very soon, but we're gonna try to make our way over into this corner first. Oh, you dirty dog. With these last couple whacks here, we are now done. We're all the way to the corner. We have this entire side completely stripped off. It's pretty fascinating looking at where all of the panels used to be, because right on the seams, there's this nice water line, and then pretty much where every single one of the rivets are on the farm, there's also a little water circle around that. And the only thing that I can attribute that to is on the inside of the farms, this is all plywood, and this can breathe, so air can eventually get through it. So everything in the middle that had plywood over the top of it, that moisture was able to get off of the surface of the concrete. But along the edges, where we have the metal, and then where we have the rivets on the backside, the water must not have been able to pass through the metal edges or the rivet spots. So that's what's given us this little striped look. But once we leave it off for a while, you can tell where we pulled off earlier this morning, it's already starting to dry up a little bit on those seams, and it's not as evident. And then with what we did the other day, you really can't see it at all in here anymore. If I'm not mistaken, the surface of the concrete is going to dry relatively quickly, or at least to the touch and to the look, but on the inside of the concrete, this moistness is going to continue to go on for the next couple years, and then it will just slowly start to dry. We made it into our corner a little bit quicker than anticipated, and I'm not ready to go out into the cold wind and being the telehandler, so we're gonna jump into the bump out instead. Justin and I are making a really nice progress in the bump out. It's pretty tight in there, and we have a bunch of hinged corners, so you kind of have to start on one side and then work your way across. Otherwise, everything is just tied together. So it's probably gonna take us about 3 times as long just to do the little bump out area as it would for us to do an entire wall. But Justin's continuing his work right now, and I'm taking off just a little bit early tonight. Neva called, and Edward, my oldest son, I guess he has it in the lungs pretty good right now. And so I'm gonna take him up to the doctor quick just to make sure that everything is okay. What do we think, bud?
What are you doing?
They're testing him for RSV right now, whatever RSV is supposed to be. I think they have to stick something down his nose. And honestly, I think that's gonna make me more uncomfortable than it is for him. Everything went good at the doctor. They looked at all of Edward's stuff and said he looked good. They stuck a thing way up in his nose and they sent a test off, and I guess we'll get those results back here this morning or maybe later this afternoon. So we'll find out if he's sick or not, but seems like he's doing pretty well. He's just got a little bit of a cough. But now I have a meeting with Nate. He is our fertilizer salesman, so I'm gonna be buying some fertilizer, and then today is the last day of hunting season, so Justin is going to be doing that. And then Roman just had his 4th child, so he is also not going to be here. So we'll figure out how today is gonna go, but first we have our meeting with Nate. Morning, Nate.
Morning, Cole. How's it going today?
Good. Oh, we got Jamie hiding back there too.
Morning, Cole. How are you?
Good. Every time that Nate and Jamie come out, it's about a 4-hour meeting. Today, it was a 5-hour meeting, but we just got done with everything with them. We purchased the rest of our fertilizer for the year, as well as some of the weed control products that we are going to be using on our farm this year. So we spent $160,000 today, and then actually in another month from now, we're gonna have $160,000 again that is due with them for the remainder of our inputs. And then we will have everything purchased as far as inputs that are going to be planted or put on the ground for the next year's crop. So we haven't even finished selling the crop that we have from last year, and we already have everything ready for the next year. Well, everything minus the $160,000 that is due next month. Just to put things into perspective a little bit, using a quick and dirty method, it cost $1,000 to raise 1 acre of corn. And it cost $700 to raise 1 acre of soybeans. Now my family has 1,000 acres of corn and 1,000 acres of soybeans. So if it costs us $1,000 an acre and we have 1,000 acres, it's going to cost us $1 million just for us to plant our 1,000 acres of corn, well, for us to raise it for the entire year. And then it's gonna cost $700,000 for us to do our soybeans. So it's going to cost $1.7 million as a whole. So the $160,000 that we still need to pay on represents about 8% of our total cost of production for our corn and our soybeans. So we've already paid 92% of our inputs, and we are sitting at the beginning of January. We're not even going to be planting this crop for another 4.5 to 5 months. And we're not going to be getting paid on this crop for like another, well, 11 months. Sorry, 9.4%, not 8%. My bad, I went to a public school. Public education. 8.4%, 9.4%, it doesn't really matter. What I'm getting at is we have already spent a lot of money, and we are going to spend a lot of money here coming in the next month, and we are not going to have the opportunity to get that money back for a really long time. So we are going to be sitting without all of that money for the entire year, and here's the real kicker of it. When we get to the end of the year, when we actually harvest it, we have no idea what that harvest is actually going to look like, and we have no idea what kind of prices we are going to have when we actually have the opportunity to harvest. Just for me to be transparent, that $1.7 million is not all spent up front. Let's say $1 million of it is spent up front for us to get things locked in, and then as the year goes on, the remaining $700,000 is going to be spent as we go. So then by the time we get to the end of the year and our crop is done, the full $1.7 million will be spent. So basically right now we're sitting on we're already out the $1 million. This is why farming is so risky, because we have no idea what's coming for the weather. Are we going to get a ton of rain where things flood out? We could. Are we going to get no rain where things dry out? We could. Are we going to get a massive windstorm that comes in and blows our crops completely down? We could. We could get all three. We could get a super wet spring, we could get a dry summer, and then we could get a big windstorm at the end of the summer. So we lose all the little baby stuff that gets flooded out. Anything that survived the floods would have dried out, and then anything that survived the dry out would have got blown over. We just don't know what's coming for weather. Now we do have crop insurance, but that some years covers our expenses, some years it does not. We are currently sitting on a year right now where our crop insurance does not meet our cost of production. So even if we got a full crop insurance payment, it would still be under what it costs us to produce our crop. So we would have to come up with the difference out of pocket. And then on top of the weather, we also have the markets to deal with. We have no idea what the grain market is going to do. We could be sitting here at the beginning of the year, the end of the year we could be here, which would be awesome. Or we could be sitting here at the beginning of the year, and then the end of the year we're down here. We have absolutely no idea. It's like trying to guess the gasoline prices. Do we have a pretty good gasoline price right now, or is the end of the year going to be better, or is it going to be worse? Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. This last year of farming was a great example of the price floor just falling out. We saw a 30% reduction in the price of corn in a singular year. So let's say we spent our $1.7 million, and let's say we had a break-even crop where we spent $1.7 million and then we made $1.7 million back. So everything we spent is what we made, so we actually made zero profit. If we have a 30% reduction in price on a break-even year, let's say, take 30% of $1.7 million. That's how much under break-even we would be if we have a 30% price drop, like what happened this last year. Now, I'm not saying that it's all doom and gloom. I'm just saying that it is risky. And these are the risks that farmers have to take in order for us to go out and raise our crop. Now, usually everything is good. Most of the time, things are good. But 2 really good years can be offset by 1 bad year. 4 okay years can be offset by 1 really bad year. And 10 years can be offset by 1 really bad year. So we could have 5 really good years in a row. We could have 3 really bad years in a row after that. We just don't know. It's part of the risk equation that we have to look at when we're going into farming and when we're getting ready to go into our next year of raising crops. While we are on the topic of risk, I want to mention something that is really important, and that is the rest of the family that is not here on the farm with us. We also have to be looking out for them when it comes to the risks that we are taking on the farm, more particularly in the what if something happened to us when we were working on the farm and we were not here anymore. And all of the burdens that we just took on, all of the risk that we just took on got passed on to our family. Do we want that? What happens if that happens? Are they going to be taken care of? On our family, for the last 4 decades, we have carried life insurance for that reason, to protect our family. Today's video is sponsored by Policy Genius. Now, if I was not sponsored by Policy Genius, I would still be recommending life insurance to anybody who wants to protect their family. And by the way, Policy Genius is who I personally use for my own life insurance policies that help protect my family. If you're not familiar with Policy Genius, it's a super easy way to find and buy life insurance. So this is how it works. If you go to the link in the description or go to policygenius.com/call-the-cornstar and give Policy Genius your information, they're gonna call you and they're gonna ask a few questions, and then they are going to compare all of America's top insurers, and they are going to find the one that offers the highest coverage with the lowest price, and they are going to offer that to you. I actually did mine from the front seat of my truck, and it took 30 minutes. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. I'm not kidding. I literally did mine from the front seat of my truck in 30 minutes with just my phone. If you would like to help financially protect your family, check out the link in the description or go to policygenius.com/call-the-cornstar and see how much you could save. Since everybody's gone for the rest of the day, I'm going to hunker down in the shop office. I'm gonna get some tax work put together, and I'm gonna work on that for a few hours, and then tomorrow we're gonna start ripping off the inside forms again, and we're gonna get that wrapped up. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the farm. Absolutely beautiful blue sky, sunny day. Before we get started in the underground movie theater, I have 2 tips for today. The first one is if the belt buckle on your pants digs into your stomach, or if your belt kind of jumps over the top of your pants and digs into your hips a little bit, just tuck in your shirt. Takes care of all of it. And if you really want ultimate comfortability, if you're willing to, try upping your pants up a size and then get a pair of suspenders. It is absolutely beautiful. If you're driving a lot, it's awesome. Tip number 2, if you're working in an environment where sometimes a sweatshirt feels good, but sometimes it's too hot, so you're constantly taking it off and then putting back on, taking off, putting back on. If you get a sweatshirt that has a zipper on the front, it is so much better because then you can keep everything on your head. If you have a face mask on, if you have earplugs in, if you have a hat on, if you have glasses on, hard hat, whatever, you don't have to take any of that off. You just simply unzip it, boom, now you're good. And then when you go to put it back on, same thing. While we were gone yesterday, got a little bit gusty out. We got into 25-mile-per-hour gusts, and those gusts took a little bit of a toll on our tarping system. When I came in to check on everything last night, our temporary trusses were lifting up a couple feet, and then our tarp started to rip. And so just in front of the furnace, it was barely above freezing. So I actually shut this down last night, so it got well into the teens in here. And so our walls and stuff started to get cold. We are safe from freezing. This has been poured for about 10 days now and has been heated for 10 days. So we have strong enough concrete. It's just kind of cold working in here today. And unfortunately, there is a lot of spots like this all throughout our tarp system with a bunch of holes in it. The guys are off to a fast start today. They already have the entire bump out done, and they even made their way all the way around this corner and got everything stripped all the way to the back. We're currently running into 2 little dilemmas. Dilemma number 1, all of our forms are in the way for what's left. If we move all these forms, then strip what's behind them, and then go lift them out of here, we're gonna be triple handling them instead of double handling them. We don't want to triple handle them because these things are heavy, so we kind of can't do anything until these forms are out of the way. Dilemma number 2, see these vertical pieces of wood? They are holding up our temporary roofing system. So in order for us to get the forms off that are behind them, we have to remove these. Technically speaking, we are more than safe to pull our tarp completely off and let things freeze. The concrete will be able to handle the temperatures now, but we still need to pull the outsides off, and the tarp's still there and it's out of the wind, and we can heat the area outside of the wall. It's a lot nicer working in 45-degree temperatures than it is working in 15-degree temperatures. So we're just gonna jump on the outside and do that while our tarp's still there. Then once we're actually ready to get things fully out, then we'll take the tarp off. It's supposed to form up later this week, and then we'll be able to get everything out and then be able to get the last of the inside done. So we're going to the outside now. I can get a little bit better angle of some of our tarp damage from this side. This corner is completely eaten through, and then in the middle, pretty much anywhere where it's big, humped up, all of our cross pieces came off because those should be held down. And there's several holes in the middle. And I guess when they got here this morning, this entire right side was not covered at all, at least on the top part. Oh yeah, we had quite a bit more damage over on this side. A lot of bit more damage. Hard to heat an area with a hole that big. You know what they say, ain't nothing to it but to do it. So here we have it. This is the outside of the wall. If we go right when we come in, we have the bump out area. This sneaks all the way to the back. We actually have pretty good headroom down in here. You just have to look out for all the little frost that's up on the tarp. When the wind blows it, it falls on you. And when you have enough sun outside, you have really cold water droplets that fall on you. And they usually find a way down your neck. So wearing a hood down here is actually a pretty good idea. And then when we go around the other side, we can take this little path along the back. Now this part is going to be a little difficult to get the top area because we have to move all of this, and this is set up on these vertical pieces of wood that's holding our tarp back. So we'll probably end up doing this little corridor when we actually open everything up. So when you start pulling stuff from the inside, then we'll do this side. But the far outside, same thing as the other side. A lot of nice room through here. We can get all the way to the top, and it even goes around the corner. So Zach and Cooper are getting started pulling all the wedges, and then Justin is going along and he's flipping things out. And I guess I'm just gonna see what needs to be done, and that's what I'm gonna be doing too. Ooh, look at that. That's a big old icicle. A light big old icicle. Wow. Honestly, this thing feels like it's hollow. This is like a balsa wood icicle. Yo, Tino, where do you want me?
Start hauling forms out.
I definitely drew the short end of the stick on this job. I'm gonna have to carry all the forms from way in the back down this little frozen goat path, all the way around the skinning area, and then outside of the opening. Justin is going to be pulling forms off and handing them down to me, and then Zach and Cooper are getting everything completely stripped off so that way Justin can just come up and start pulling forms. So, but it's not the most fun job to do. It needs to be done. So, like I like to say, there's nothing to it but to do it. Takes about a minute and 30 seconds per form. I got all the 5-footers in this side done, so they're gonna start pulling these boards off. They're gonna pull the scaffolding brackets off, and they're gonna start pulling the 8-footers. Whoa, Justin with the splits. Tarzan climbing up. Yep. Holy cow. That's pretty good for a 68-year-old.
Yep, it is.
Working on the outside of the wall for a little while. We've got most of this side completely stripped off, and we're running into a similar set of issues that we were running into on the inside with our excess pile. It's about a 100-foot carry over to the ramp that the skid loader can get down into, and these forms are heavy. Everything is pretty uneven, so it's not the most fun carry, and probably not the most safe carry. So we're just trying to figure out ways where we can make this a little bit easier and a little bit more fun and a little bit less strenuous on our backs. Since we're gonna have to be pulling the tarp off eventually to get into the inside, what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to get all of the areas that we can right now that are accessible with the tarp on. And then once we get all of those done, we have a few areas where we have to have the tarp off to get to. And so once we start pulling the tarp to get to those, we'll be able to get to the inside. And then when it comes to areas like right here where we have a really far carry, we're just gonna lift a little bit of the tarp over here and we'll drop the chain down. And then we can just hook the chain to an individual panel and then we can just drag it out. And then we can just stack everything up there. Right on the other side of the tarp is the driveway. So that's exactly where we need them anyway. So it looks a little bit messy over in this corner, but we're gonna leave things like this right now. And we're just gonna keep moving on to the areas that we can get with tarp over the top. I'll lift this up Probably the biggest challenge of building the underground movie theater right now is the fact that we are doing it in the middle of the winter time, and it's not the fact that it's cold and we are all bundled up and we have gloves on and we have to cover everything up. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that it gets dark at 5:30 in the afternoon, where during the summertime we can work an extra 3 or 4 hours and still have daylight. So it feels like you get so much more done during the summertime because you can work a lot more. So right now, with it getting dark early, it just feels like it's like the end of the day is here just like that. It doesn't feel like we get a lot done in a day. We're all working hard and we're all doing a bunch of stuff and we are getting stuff done. It feels like your day is cut short early. And that's the biggest challenge for me right now because it's like we're crawling along. Now that we are done working outside for the night, let's talk about the future plans for the house. What are our next steps going forward once we get our forms stripped? This is a picture of the underground movie theater before we threw the big tarp over the top. So Zach and I were actually working in this corner tonight before we got darked out. But with the tarp off, we can see a whole lot better that this thing is deep underground. And all of these trenchways where we have been walking in are going to need to be backfilled with dirt. So our dirt level is going to be all the way up to there, and pretty much everything above the tip of my finger is going to be sticking out of the ground, and everything below my finger is all going to be buried under the soil. Before we can do any backfilling, we need to waterproof the outside of our wall. Now, I've never waterproofed a wall before, so I could use a little help. I've never built a house before. I've never poured a basement before, and I've definitely never waterproofed a basement wall before either. And I joke you not when I say I'm learning how to do all of this stuff off of YouTube. Okay, I take that back. Between YouTube, people that I know who can help me, online forums, and ChatGPT, I'm getting it figured out. One of the big YouTube resources that I have used is a gentleman named Matt Reisinger with The Build Show. And in this video, and actually a few others that I found on him doing basement waterproofing, he talks about this product called, if the camera will focus, there we go, Polyguard. At the moment, our bare concrete is kind of like this cardboard box. If we were to subject this to moisture, this box would soak up the water and it would hold it inside. Our new concrete wall will do the exact same thing, and we don't want it to do that. When water gets inside of the wall, it works its way into the house, which would be bad because that would make a musty smell in the basement, and it would also bring water in, and then that would touch our interior finishes, which could make mold, and it could make things rot, and it would just lead to a whole bunch of problems. So while we have everything exposed, we want to do everything that we can to prevent water from being able to be absorbed into the inside of our wall. Hence where Matt Reisinger comes into play. So what Matt is recommending that we do is take our bare concrete wall and apply a waterproofing membrane. Now this is where I need a little bit of help. Matt is recommending PolyGuard, and I don't know if that is good. So if you are experienced with waterproofing a foundation wall, have you used PolyGuard or have you used it before and then used something else because you liked something better? I would really like to know, because I honestly do not know what is the best product for us to apply. So what a waterproofing membrane is basically like a bed liner in a pickup. So if you go out to a pickup truck and you look in the back and it's got that textured black roughness to it that's kind of rubbery, that is a membrane. And it's basically we're just putting that on the basement wall. And if you've ever seen a Flex Seal commercial where they take the screen doors and they turned it into a boat and then they cover the screen doors with the Flex Seal and then he's rowing the boat across the little pond. Yeah, basically that's what we're doing, but instead of putting it on a screen door, we're putting it on the outside of the wall to keep the water on the outside and keep the dryness on the inside. In Matt Reisinger's basement waterproofing videos, he talks a lot about a suspenders and belt approach, which I'm a big fan of because it basically just means overkill and you want to guarantee that this thing is going to work. And I like that kind of stuff. With our wall now waterproof membraned, we have our suspenders on, and then we grab our belt, which is our dimple board. See how we have all these little dimples that are sticking out? Well, when we actually take this and put it up next to our waterproofing membrane, these little dimples are going to make just a little baby air gap between the dimple mat and the wall. So there'll just be a little baby slot, kind of like that. And that's going to allow an air gap for if water gets through that dimple mat and touches our waterproofing membrane, it will be able to run down to where we have a drain already installed at the bottom. And then all of that water will be able to be taken away. So we will never actually have a hydraulic head pressure up against the wall, because if it gets through the dimple mat, just boom, drops down, and then our waterproofing membrane will help keep things dry from the little bit of water that would touch this. And then this drain pipe is going to be doing all of the heavy lifting of actually getting rid of the mass amounts of water. This diagram makes it a little bit easier to understand. It's a little bit better than my example, but we would have our waterproofing membrane on the concrete, and then we can see the little air gap that our dimple board would make. And then if water got in that little air gap, it would just flow right over the top of the footing down into our French drain system. So when it comes to this dimple mat, I was watching another video by French Drain Man right there, and he teaches us how to waterproof a foundation, and he is using this dimple board that is a Delta MS mat, this stuff right here. So same thing, if anybody has any experience with putting dimple board down, what one is the best? I really like the work that French Drain Man does. He seems extremely attention to detail oriented, which I like, and he's not afraid to do things overkill, which I also like. So based on what I've seen, I feel like this is probably our best option to go with, this Delta MS. But if you have any feedback and you actually know what is best, please write down in the comments and let me know. Oh, and reading the comments, look at this. He also used a rubber membrane, and it's the PolyGuard. We had a really good day today. The crew got a lot done, and we are almost through the worst part of the entire project, which is carrying those big, clunky, heavy forms around. I would say we are halfway done with stripping the walls. And then once we get done with that, we're going to be moving on to the waterproofing side of things. And we need to have things planned ahead so that way we have everything ready to go once we get there. So if you could please help me out by letting me know what I should use right now. I am leaning toward the Delta MS dimple board and the PolyGuard waterproofing membrane. So if I should be going a different direction, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm super tired from carrying those forms around, so I'm ready to go to bed. So this is all we got for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.